The estate went dark, and Sophia had to hold a gun for the first time in her life. Alarms screamed through the mansion. Metal shutters slammed over windows. Gunfire echoed through halls Sophia used to clean in silence. Dante pushed a weapon into her shaking hands and told her one thing. If anyone came through that door, who wasn't him or Marco, shoot. Sophia had survived violence before, but never like this. This time she wasn't hiding under bruises or waiting for rescue. This time her daughter was locked in a safe room. The house was under siege, and the only thing standing between her and death was the courage Dante swore she already had. Picture this. Rain is beating against the hospital windows, and Sophia is slipping out into the freezing night with 3 cracked ribs, making every breath feel like glass. No health insurance, no one to call, no safe place waiting for her. She drags herself home, praying only for her daughter Leia to be there. But the apartment door is hanging open, the rooms are empty, and her little girl is gone. The only clue is a note saying Leia went to the Bellucci estate, the Mafia fortress, where Sophia once worked as a maid. And when Sophia reaches that house, she finds her daughter in the kitchen of a feared crime lord, wrapped in cashmere, with bruises circling her small wrists. It begins in a hospital room that feels too bright and too cold. Sophia can barely sit upright. Every breath stabs through her side, and the nurse keeps telling her she needs to stay for observation. Travis Kane, the man who once promised to love her, had beaten her 6 hours earlier. 3 cracked ribs, a concussion, and purple marks blooming across her skin. Still, Sophia signs herself out. She lies and says someone is picking her up, because the longer she stays, the more she imagines Leia alone with him. So she walks out into the Manhattan rain, with one hand pressed to her ribs and the other gripping her dead phone. She walks 4 blocks to the subway, bent forward against the pain. People glance at her bruised face, then look away fast, as if noticing would make them responsible. On the train, she calls the apartment again and again. No answer. Then she calls Leia's phone, and it goes straight to voicemail. By the time she reaches Washington Heights and climbs 5 flights of stairs, sweat and rain are both running down her neck. She tells herself there is still a simple explanation. Maybe Leia is asleep. Maybe the phone died. But when she sees the apartment door hanging open, all those small lies vanish at once. Sophia never left that door unlocked. Not with Travis in the apartment. Not after the nights when he drank himself mean and woke up looking for someone to blame. She steps inside and calls Leia's name. Nothing answers her except the drip from the kitchen sink and the faint buzz of the old refrigerator. The blankets on the sofa are still twisted from where Sophia has been sleeping for 6 months, keeping distance between herself and Travis. Then she hears a muffled ring from the closet. Inside, she finds Leia's shattered phone and a note written in her daughter's shaky hand. I went to Mr. Bellucci. He can stop Travis. Dante Bellucci is not the sort of man anyone runs to, unless every other door has already closed. He is rich, feared, and surrounded by men who speak softly because they do not need to shout. For 5 years, Sophia cleaned his Greenwich estate to pay off debts her dead husband left behind. She arrived before sunrise, scrubbed marble floors, emptied crystal glasses, and left without ever meeting his eyes. That was how she survived. Work quietly, keep her head down, never invite attention. But Leia has gone straight into his house. Sophia is dizzy, injured, and terrified. Yet she grabs the railing and starts down the stairs again. She has no car, no cash, and no strength left to cross the city on her own. Then her phone rings. Marco, Dante's head of security, speaks in a flat voice and tells her Leia is with them. She needs to come now. She admits she has no way to get there. Marco says a car is already outside. When she looks down from the 5th floor window, a black sedan waits at the curb, engine running, rain sliding over its dark windows. Any other night, she would have been afraid to climb in. Tonight, fear has become useless. Gets into the back seat and smells expensive leather, cold air, and gun oil. 3 minutes, Sophia watches the city blur into wealthy suburbs. Every pothole sends pain tearing through her ribs, but she bites the inside of her cheek and stays silent. Driver barely speaks. Back roads, checks the mirrors often, and keeps both hands loose on the wheel. When the iron gates of the Bellucci estate open, Sophia feels smaller than she ever did as a maid. She used to enter through the service door before dawn, invisible and half-frozen. Tonight, the car rolls up to the front entrance, and 2 guards open the heavy doors as if she belongs there. Somehow, that frightens her more. Marco meets her at the door and does not waste time with comfort. He leads her through polished halls, past portraits of dead Belluccis and walls covered in wealth so heavy it feels like another kind of threat. Sophia remembers cleaning these floors on her knees. Now her wet shoes leave marks across the shine. In the kitchen, warmth hits her first, then the smell of bread, coffee, and garlic. Laya is sitting at the table, pale and exhausted, wrapped in a soft blanket that looks too expensive for a child who ran through rain. Sophia reaches for her, then stops. Dante Bellucci is standing near the window, watching her. Sophia has seen Dante from a distance before, but never like this. Close, he is calm in a way that makes the room feel quieter around him. Eyes move over her bruised cheek, her wet clothes, the way one arm stays pressed to her ribs. He does not ask what happened. He already knows enough. Down before you fall, he says. Sophia tries to answer that she only came for Laya, that they need to go home. Her voice cracks before she can finish. Dante's gaze drops to the hospital bracelet still on her wrist. You ran from the hospital, he says, not as a question. Sophia starts to deny it. But Dante looks at Marco and tells him to call the doctor. She says no too quickly. She cannot pay. She cannot owe him. She cannot let this house become another trap. Dante cuts through her panic with 2 words. Sit down, her legs are already shaking. So she obeys. Leia grabs her hand and begins crying so hard she can barely speak. Travis had come home furious, tearing drawers open, shouting about money. Laya tried to hide in the closet. When he found her, she tried to push past him to call for help. Sophia sees the bruises around her daughter's wrists and forgets how to breathe. Leia whispers that Travis threw her against the wall, then told her no one would believe a little girl over a grieving stepfather. Sophia reaches for her face, checking for swelling cuts, anything she might have missed. Her own ribs no longer matter. Dante's hands flatten against the table. His voice turns very low when he asks where the man is. Sophia says Travis is probably passed out at the apartment. Dante asks for his full name. For one awful second, Sophia's mouth refuses to work. Then Laya flinches beside her and Sophia says it clearly, Travis Kane. Sophia tries to add that Dante does not need to get involved, but the look he gives her stops the words. He is not gentle, but he is not cruel either. He reminds her that she's worked in his house for 5 years and never once asked him for anything. Tonight, he says, she is going to stop refusing help long enough to keep her child alive. Sophia hates how badly she wants to believe him. She hates that the safest room she has been in for months belongs to a criminal. When the doctor arrives, she is still holding Laya's hand, afraid that if she lets go, someone will take her daughter away again. Dr. Reeves examines Laya first. The bruises around her wrists are deep, ugly and too precise to be dismissed as an accident. Nothing is broken, but the doctor photographs everything and writes it down with quiet care. Then he turns to Sophia. She tries to refuse again, and Dante simply moves a chair behind her before she can sway. The exam is painful enough to make her vision blur. When it is over, Reeves confirms the cracked ribs, the concussion, and the need for rest. Sophia stands anyway. Because mothers stand, the room tilts. Dante catches her before she hits the floor, one arm firm around her back, careful not to touch her ribs. Marco takes them upstairs to a guest suite larger than Sophia's whole apartment. Laya's room connects through a small sitting area, close enough that Sophia can see her from the bed. Everything is clean, warm, and too beautiful to trust. Fresh clothes are folded on a chair. Towels wait in the bathroom. Someone has even placed a glass of water on the nightstand. In the hall, Elise, the quiet housekeeper, pauses with a stack of linens and asks softly if Leia sleeps with a nightlight. Sophia barely notices. Her body is finished. At the door, Dante tells Marco to double the guards, and Sophia hears it before sleep takes her. She wakes later to find Dante standing in the doorway, his outline dark against the hall light. For a second, Sophia thinks she is dreaming, and the pain in her ribs reminds her she is not. She asks the question that has been pressing under her skin since she arrived. Why are you doing this? Dante looks at Laya sleeping in the next room before answering. Because no one came when I needed them to. He leaves before she can ask what that means. In the morning, Sophia wakes in a panic. The clock says 9:47. She has not slept that late in years, and the quiet feels dangerous. A note is taped to the bathroom mirror. Take what you need. Beside it, the wardrobe is filled with new clothes in her size and Laya's. Sophia stares at the neat rows of sweaters, jeans, socks, and coats. Someone must have shopped in the middle of the night. When Elise appears to collect the torn hospital clothes, she says she guessed Laya liked purple because of the old keychain on her backpack. The detail feels kind at the time. Sophia wants to be angry at all of it, but her own clothes are ruined, so she chooses a gray sweater, pulls it over her bruised body, and accepts one useful thing without apologizing for needing it. She follows Laya's laugh downstairs and finds the kitchen full of morning light. Laya's is wearing a purple hoodie and standing on a stool beside Antonio, the old Italian chef, trying to braid dough. The braid keeps falling apart. Leia groans, Antonio laughs, and for one fragile second, Sophia sees her daughter looking 12 again, instead of frightened and watchful. Antonio sets coffee and toast in front of Sophia without asking permission. "Eat," he says. She tries to refuse, but Laia looks at her with pleading eyes, so Sophia eats. The food is warm and simple, and almost impossible to swallow because kindness still feels like something that can be taken away. For a little while, the kitchen gives them cover. Laia dusts flour across her own nose. Antonio pretends to scold her. Elise passes through with fresh towels and smiles at Laia, asking if she prefers the garden path or the east stairs for school. Antonio answers before Sophia can think about it. Then Sophia notices Laia's eyes keep moving to the windows, checking for Travis even behind the estate walls. Dante appears in the doorway, dressed in black, his phone in one hand and exhaustion shadowing his face. He looks at Laia first, then turns to Sophia. "Finish eating," he says. "After that, we talk." Dante leads her to his study, a room of dark wood, old books and windows looking out over the rain-soaked grounds. Sophia keeps one hand against the wall when she walks, trying to hide how weaky she feels. Dante notices but says nothing. On his desk is a folder with Travis's name on it. Tells her Travis owes $63,000 to 3 loan sharks and has been using her name on small applications, payday loans, and 1 failed credit account. Sophia reaches for the folder with shaking fingers. Page after page, her life is there in black ink, twisted into something Travis could use. She realizes he was not only hurting her, he had been building a cage. Sophia asks how Dante got the information. Says only, "I looked." Answer is so simple it frightens her. Dante tells her Travis is desperate, and desperate men do not stop at bruises. Sophia says she can go to the police. Dante does not laugh, but his silence is worse. Slides a photograph across the desk. Laia's bruised wrists documented by Dr. Reeves. "Can you keep her safe tonight?" he asks. Sophia wants to say yes. The word will not come. Dante kneels so they are level and gives her a choice. Go back to an apartment Travis knows, or stay where Travis has to come through him first. Sophia studies Dante's face, searching for the trap. She has learned that help often comes with a hidden price. Dante does not pretend to be harmless. He tells her there is blood on his hands, and he will not insult her by calling himself a good man. But there are lines he does not cross. Women, children, people too weak to fight back. Travis crossed all 3. Sophia looks down at the file again and sees one more charge in her name, one she never made. Her fear changes shape. It becomes anger. If he comes near Laia again, she says, "I want him stopped." Dante's answer is quiet. "He will be." Dante makes 1 phone call, short and controlled. When he hangs up, he tells Sophia the rules. Marco will assign guards. She and Laia can move freely inside the estate, but not outside without security. Sophia asks how long this is supposed to last. Until he is no longer a threat. Dante says. That answer should horrify her. Instead, it lets her take her first full breath of the morning. Before she leaves, she asks for copies of everything in Travis's file. Dante studies her. Sophia straightens despite the pain. If this becomes a fight, I want to know what he's been doing in my name. Dante opens the drawer and hands her the folder. Over the next 3 days, Sophia and Laia move through the mansion like guests who still expect to be asked to leave. The staff is polite. The guards are watchful. A doctor checks Sophia's ribs each morning. Antonio teaches Laia to make pasta and lets her ruin 2 full trays without complaint. Elise brings tea to the study and always seems to know which room Sophia has just left. Sophia spends hours at the kitchen table sorting through Travis's debts, circling names, dates, and signatures she never wrote. On the 4th morning, she overhears Marco say Travis has agreed to leave New York under conditions strict enough to frighten him. Travis is leaving the next day. He has signed papers agreeing never to contact Sophia or Laia again, and he understands exactly what will happen if he returns. Sophia steps into the study before Marco can finish his report. The room goes still. Dante's expression gives nothing away. She asks if Travis signed willingly. Marco glances at Dante, then at the floor. Sophia understands enough. Relief comes first, then nausea. She has wanted Travis gone for so long that the method should not matter, but it does. Dante tells her Travis is alive and leaving the city. Sophia nods once, then asks for the signed documents. Dante seems almost surprised that she asks. He gives her the papers, and she reads every page before allowing herself to believe it. Only then does he tell her what comes next is her choice. She can return to her apartment. Though he does not recommend it, she can stay at the estate while she plans. He can help with a new place. School for Laia. legal support, whatever she needs to start over. Sophia is silent for a long moment. She has spent years being moved around by other people's decisions. I need time, she says. Dante nods. Take it. It is the first offer she has heard in years that does not sound like an order. Sophia finds him in his study, with whiskey untouched beside a stack of contracts. She closes the door behind her and says, I want to stay. For now, Dante's face does not change, but his shoulders loosen slightly. Sophia lifts a hand before he can speak. She will not live as a charity case. She wants work, structure, something that belongs to her. When she says her English literature degree has been useless for years, Dante tells her he remembers it from her employee file. You could teach, he says. Sophia laughs once. Bitterly, she has no money for certification. Dante offers to pay. Sophia says she will accept it as a loan, not a gift. Dante does not argue. He only asks what terms she wants. The question steadies her more than the money does. Together, they write it down. Tuition, exam fees, a small laptop, all to be repaid when she is working. Antonio also offers her shifts in the kitchen, not because she belongs below stairs, but because she needs routine and cash of her own. Sophia accepts both. Soon her days are full. She studies at night, chops vegetables in the morning, and walks Leia to the estate's small academy with a guard trailing discreetly behind them. For the first time, rebuilding does not feel like a fantasy. It feels like a schedule. Sophia knows the estate hides things she is not meant to see. Men arrive at odd hours, doors close when she passes, phones go silent. She tries to focus on Antonio's kitchen, where flour, heat, and repetition make the world simple for a few hours. One afternoon, Antonio tells her he has worked for the Bellucci's for 37 years. He remembers Dante at 17, with split knuckles and a face empty from trying not to cry after his father beat him. Antonio does not say, the old man deserved the fall down the stairs that killed him. He only says Dante never looked like a boy again after that night. Fia keeps rolling dough, but her hands slow. Should be horrified by what Antonio is implying. Instead, she thinks of the nights she wished Travis would simply disappear and never come back. That thought frightens her more than Dante does. Antonio watches her face and says Dante is dangerous, yes, but not empty. With Laia, he is patient. Sophia, he is careful. Those things matter in a house built by men who rarely learned care. Fia looks through the kitchen window and sees Dante in the garden, teaching Laia how to move a chess piece. A man can be both frightening and kind. The difficulty is knowing which side will win when it matters. Sophia throws herself into studying, because textbooks are easier than desire. Grammar rules make sense. Dante Bellucci does not. In the library doorway while Leia tells a story. Near the kitchen when Sophia works late. At the edge of the garden with a phone pressed to his ear. One night, Sophia sees Elise at the library desk, dusting a phone that has already been cleaned twice. Elise smiles and says the house gets dirty in strange places. 2 weeks into their fragile peace, Sophia wakes to raised voices after 2 in the morning. She slips into the hallway and hears Marco inside Dante's study. Marco says Dante is losing his mind over a civilian woman and her kid. Other families can smell weakness. Dante's answer is so cold Sophia feels it through the door. He is cleaning the money, selling territories, and cutting the last illegal contracts loose. Marco calls it suicide. Dante calls it ending his father's rot. Fia stands in the shadows, one hand against the wall. She had thought Dante was only protecting them. Now she understands he is trying to tear down the life that made him powerful. And because of her and Leia, everyone around him has noticed where to aim. Marco storms out, too angry to see Sophia in the dark. She should return to bed. Instead, she waits until his footsteps vanish, then knocks on Dante's door. He looks tired when he opens it, not like a king, not like a monster, just a man who has not slept. Fia steps inside before she can lose courage. Are you doing this because of us? Dante closes the door. He does not deny it. He says they were not the whole reason, but they were the part he could no longer ignore. Sophia feels both grateful and afraid, because being someone else's reason can become another kind of burden. Dante stands by the window, whiskey in hand, and tells her he has wanted out for years. He kept postponing it because leaving meant war, weakness, betrayal, maybe death. Then Leia arrived at his door with bruises on her wrists, and Sophia arrived half-broken from the hospital, still trying to say she was fine. Something in him snapped. Sophia asks what happens if he fails. Dante does not offer comfort. He says men like him do not retire cleanly. He may lose money, men, territory, even his life. But if he stays, he will become exactly like his father. And that is the one thing he cannot bear anymore. Then he says the thing he clearly hates needing. He wants an ordinary life, not perfect, just quiet. No pistol under his pillow, No cars checked for bombs. No child learning escape routes before multiplication tables. He wants a morning where the biggest problem is burnt toast. He wants to sit at a table with Sophia and Laya and not be waiting for the glass to break. Sophia should step back. Instead, she grabs his shirt and kisses him. Dante freezes for one breath, then kisses her as if he has been starving quietly for years. The glass slips from his hand onto the carpet, forgotten. Dante's hands come to her face, careful around the bruises that are still fading. Sophia pulls away first. Breathing hard, she tells him not to turn her into a symbol for his redemption. She is not here to save him. She has a daughter, a life to rebuild, and no room for another man who makes promises while bringing danger to her door. Dante listens without flinching. Sophia says if he wants her beside him, he has to prove he can change when it costs him, not just when it feels noble. She will not be hidden, lied to, or treated like something fragile. Dante nods slowly. Then I tell you everything. He agrees to stop keeping the ugly parts from her, but he asks one promise in return. If his past reaches the house, Sophia takes Laya and runs. No arguing, no waiting, no trying to rescue him. Sophia hates the promise before she even gives it. She has spent too long being told to obey men for her own good. But this is different, and she knows it. Dante is not asking her to be helpless. He is asking her to choose Laya first if the worst comes. Sophia whispers yes. Their second kiss is slower, heavier, full of fear neither of them can pretend away. Then Dante sends her back to bed before wanting becomes another bad decision. Over the next 3 weeks, Dante tries to do what men in his world almost never do. Leave while still breathing. He sells territories, closes back channel accounts, moves money into legal companies, and spends nights with lawyers who never use plain words if coded ones will do. Sophia watches closely, not from the sidelines but from the edge of the table when he lets her sit in. She learns which businesses are clean, which ones only look clean, and which men smile while sharpening knives behind their backs. Marco grows colder every day. Doors slam. Voices rise. Dante does not stop. But Sophia can see the old hunger in him when someone challenges his control. They trade pieces of the lives that shaped them. Dante speaks of a father who treated mercy like a disease and taught obedience with fists, belts, and silence. Sophia tells him about losing her husband, inheriting debt, and letting Travis into her life because he offered stability when she had none. She remembers the first slap and how quickly she explained it away. Stress, grief, money, her fault. The excuses sound smaller when spoken aloud. Dante does not interrupt, but his hand tightens around his glass. Sophia tells him she is done naming violence anything but violence. Dante says he is trying to do the same. By the third time Travis hit her, Sophia had learned to move quietly through her own home. She knew which floorboards creaked, which questions started arguments, which smiles were fake. Travis rarely began with fists. He began with apologies, then concern, then stories that made her doubt her own memory. He would say she was tired, dramatic, too fragile after losing her husband. He would kneel, cry, swear he loved Laya like his own, then punish them both the next time money ran out. Dante listens, jaw locked. When Sophia finishes, she looks straight at him. "Do not make me endure you," she says. For once, Dante has no reply. 4 uneasy weeks pass. Sophia keeps studying. Laya begins laughing more. Dante stays close, then pulls away whenever the warmth between them grows too real. Sophia understands the reason. But understanding does not make the empty nights easier. Then the borrowed calm breaks. She is helping Laya with schoolwork when Marco bursts in, pale under his usual composure. Dante is in the city, and the estate suddenly feels too large. Marco tells them to pack immediately. Castellano's son has overdosed, and Travis' old creditors are whispering Dante's name into the wrong ears. Thea understands at once. Someone is tying every loose thread into one noose. Castellano is an old name with old grudges attached to it. Sophia has heard staff whisper it with the careful fear people use around fire. Asks Marco if Dante had anything to do with the boy's death. Marco does not answer quickly enough, and that is answer enough. Maybe no, maybe yes, maybe it no longer matters. Sophia runs upstairs, throws clothes into bags, then stops. Grabs the Travis file, Leia's birth certificate, her teaching paperwork, and the emergency cash Antonio once made her hide in a flour tin. Outside, armed men are already moving. They push Sophia and Laya into the middle SUV, while 2 more vehicles close around them like steel jaws. In the back seat, Leia trembles so hard the blanket slips off her knees. Thea does not tell her everything is fine. She has made that mistake before. Instead, she says they are in danger, but they have a plan, and every adult in the car is there to keep her alive. Leia asks if this is like running from Travis again. Sophia looks at the guard in the front seat, at the road unfurling into rain, and says no. This time we not running blind. After 90 minutes, they reach a cold, modern house in Westchester. It may be safer than the estate, but the windows still look too much like eyes. Sophia checks every lock herself. She counts doors, windows, staircases, places to hide, places not to hide. The guards let her because arguing would waste time. She puts Leia in the room farthest from the front entrance and keeps the emergency bag under the bed. Dante arrives 73 minutes later, his coat wet, his face drawn tight. The moment the guards leave the room, Sophia steps into him and grips his shirt with both fists. He holds her as if he has been waiting to breathe. Then he tells her Castellano is using his son's death as an excuse to test him. Travis' debt trail may have shown them exactly where to press. Castellano believes threatening Sophia will force Dante to kneel. Dante's response is plain. He will end the old man first. Sophia does not ask him to soften the words, but she refuses to be just bait. She takes out the papers she packed and shows Dante the list of Travis's creditors. Names, addresses, and numbers she copied from his file. Travis never fights alone. She says he makes other people feel used, then points them at whoever he wants punished. Dante looks at her, surprised. Sophia's voice is steady. If you want to beat him, stop treating him like a drunk with a temper. He studies people. Before Dante can answer, Leia calls from the stairs. Her voice is small and frightened, and Dante's expression changes at once. He kneels so they are eye to eye. Leia asks if he is going to die. Dante hesitates, and Sophia respects him for not lying quickly. He tells her he is going to do everything possible to come back. Leia steps forward and hugs him. Dante freezes, completely unprepared for the trust of a child who has every reason not to trust men. Then he wraps one arm around her carefully. Sophia watches them and feels the last wall inside her loosen. Whatever Dante is, he is gentle with her daughter when it matters. 3 days in the safe house pass without sleep. Dante and Marco work the phones, using Sophia's list to trace loan sharks, runners, and anyone who might connect Travis' old world to Castellano's. Sophia keeps Leia busy with cards, schoolwork, and small chores that make the house feel less like a bunker. On the third night, she finds Dante on the porch, smoking a cigarette he clearly stole from a guard. He had quit years ago, he says, but fear has old fingers. Castellano has gone quiet. That worries him more than threats. Sophia takes the cigarette from his hand and crushes it beneath her shoe. Dante tells her anyone he loves is now a target. Sophia does not argue with the truth. She only asks what he plans to do about it. He starts to answer with something about guards and roots and firepower, but she stops him. That is not enough. Travis always made violence the center of every room, and she is done living around dangerous men as if their rage is weather. If Dante wants a future with her, protection cannot mean locking her away while he disappears into blood. He has to let her stand beside him where she can, and he has to know when to step back. Dante looks at her for a long time, then nods. That is when he tells her he loves her. Not smoothly. Not like a man used to saying it. The words come out rough, almost angry, as if they cost him something. Sophia answers him just as plainly. She loves him too. But love will not be enough if he keeps treating sacrifice as proof. Dante gives a broken laugh and promises her a real life anyway. Marriage, a legal name for Leia if Leia wants it. A home where no one checks the windows before dinner. Sophia cries because she wants all of it, and because wanting feels dangerous. Then Dante's phone vibrates on the wooden table, and the fragile dream snaps shut. Marco's name on the screen turns Dante's face from exhausted to lethal. Castellano's crew hit the estate and left a message. They know about Sophia and Leia. Worse, the message included an old photo of Sophia and Travis from before the first bruise, marked with one sentence: she always comes back. Dante says he is going to end it. Sophia grips his wrist before he can leave. No martyr act, she says. You come back, or I use every file in your office and burn whatever is left of your world myself. For a second, Dante almost smiles. Then he makes her promise that if he does not return, she takes Leia and runs. The promise tastes like metal in Sophia's mouth, but she gives it. Dante shows her where Marco hid fake passports, cash, and a burner phone. She memorizes the location, the route, the code, because refusing to learn would be pride, not courage. Then he leaves. Sophia spends the hours between 3 and 5 in the morning, watching the clock crawl. Guards move outside. Radios crackle. Upstairs, Laya has finally cried herself to sleep after asking the same question again and again. Will Dante come back? Sophia whispered yes every time, even when she was not sure. Some lies are not meant to deceive. They are meant to keep a child breathing through the night. Headlights sweep across the wall, and Sophia is on her feet before she decides to move. She knows the rules. Stay away from windows. Wait for Marco. Do not open doors. Breaks the first rule and looks anyway. 3 black SUVs roll up the drive. The middle door opens and Dante steps out. He is alive. The relief hits so hard Sophia grabs the windowsill. Then she sees the torn shirt, the blood darkening one sleeve. The way he carries himself, like every step hurts. She runs to him as soon as the guards clear the entrance. Their kiss tastes of smoke, rain, and the kind of fear that leaves bruises inside the chest. Dante says Castellano is dead. Crew that stood behind him is scattered. The immediate threat is over, but he says it like a report, not a victory. Sophia can smell gunpowder under his cologne. His eyes look hollow, and when she touches his arm, he flinches before he catches himself. Him to a chair and makes him drink water. He obeys because he is too tired to pretend strength. In the silence that follows, the safe house feels colder than before. Sophia wanted the danger gone, still does. The man sitting in front of her has paid for that safety with another piece of himself, and works her fingers into the knots at his neck and shoulders. He is rigid, still braced for another attack. When she asks for the truth, he does not dress it up. He cornered Castellano in a warehouse. The old man offered territory, money, even apologies, all of it too late. Dante chose not to negotiate. One shot ended it. Sophia's hands pause. She is not shocked that Dante killed him. She is shocked by the part of herself that is relieved. Dante notices. Do you hate me? He asks. Sophia looks at the blood dried at his collar and says the only honest thing she can. Not tonight. But I need to know this will not become who you are with us. Dante closes his eyes. He tells her he does not feel remorse for Castellano, and he will not lie to make himself easier to love. But he does feel the cost. He feels it every time Laya jumps at a slammed door. Every time Sophia checks a window without realizing it. Every time the old life follows them into rooms where it was never invited. The police arrive late. By then, the story has already been shaped into self-defense by lawyers, paid witnesses, and men who owe Dante favors. Sophia gives a statement with almost no details. She is learning that silence can protect, but it can also trap. She writes down everything privately that night. Back at the estate, the damage looks worse in daylight. Bullet holes scar the stone. Glass crunches underfoot. One corner of the gravel drive is blackened from fire. Laya goes straight to Antonio's kitchen, where ordinary tasks still exist. Sophia watches her crack eggs into a bowl with hands that tremble only once. Elise appears behind them and says she has already changed the sheets in Laya's room, though no one asked her to. Sophia thanks her without thinking. Then Marco arrives, anger barely held behind his teeth. He warns Dante the other families are not afraid now. They are curious, and curiosity in their world is almost as dangerous as revenge. Marco accuses him of throwing away power for love. Dante's answer is quiet enough that Sophia has to lean closer. Sophia is not his weakness. He says, she is the first thing in years that made him want to live like a human being. Marco laughs without humor. Human beings bleed. He says, they can be threatened. They can be used. He tells Dante the other families will not let him walk away with secrets, money, and a conscience. Dante orders him out. Marco leaves, but not before looking toward the stairs. Sophia realizes he knew she was there the whole time. Sophia comes down after Marco is gone. Dante does not ask how much she heard. He already knows. Tells him Marco is not entirely wrong. Love has made him easier to hurt, and pretending otherwise will get someone killed. Dante's face hardens at first, that old instinct rising like a wall. Then he forces it down. Sophia sees the effort and the danger in it. He is a man learning not to reach for control every time fear touches him. Asks for a place at the table when decisions involve her daughter. No more being moved from room to room like luggage. Dante says yes, and this time she makes him repeat it. Sophia offers him the choice he has been pretending not to need. If her presence is tearing his world apart, she and Laya can leave with security until things settle. Dante takes her hands too quickly, fear breaking through his control. He says the Empire is the thing he wants gone. Not them, but Sophia refuses to let romance blur the truth. Wanting a future does not create one. They need legal plans, school plans, money no one can seize, guards they can trust, and a life that will not collapse the next time an old enemy gets angry. Dante looks almost humbled. Then he pulls a notebook from the desk and asks her to start with Laya. For a few days, a practical kind of peace settles over them. Sophia makes lists, school options, emergency contacts, documents, account names she does not understand until Dante explains them, cleans money, sells assets, and moves what remains into businesses that can survive daylight. The mansion grows tense. Guards rotate more often. Meals are quieter. Elise asks Sophia if Laya's new school pickup will use the west gate or the front drive, then blushes and says she needs to know for laundry delivery. Sophia lets it pass. Marco disappears for long stretches, and when Sophia asks, Dante says it is only disagreement. She knows he is lying. Dinner, Leia barely touches her food. Eyes keep flicking toward every sound from the hall. Later, Sophia finds Dante alone with a glass of whiskey he has not drunk. Tells him plainly that Laya cannot keep living like this. Girl is memorizing guard shifts instead of homework. She knows which rooms have reinforced doors. Sleeps with shoes beside the bed. Dante says he will increase security. Sophia says security is not childhood. He flinches, and she is glad. Some truth is need to hurt. She suggests a temporary school outside the estate. Not exile, not abandonment, just a place where Laya can breathe. Dante explodes before she finishes. You want to send her away. His voice fills the study, sharp and wounded. Sophia snaps back that this mansion is a gilded cage with better curtains. The moment the words leave her mouth, she sees Travis' shadow between them. Dante sees it too. Face goes cold. I am not him, he says. Sophia answers, then do not make me afraid to disagree with you. That silences him more effectively than any apology could. Anger drains out of his face, leaving something younger and more ashamed. Thea does not soften the point. Leia's safety cannot be decided by Dante's fear of abandonment. Dante admits the thought of sending Laya away makes something ugly open in him. As a child, he was sent off whenever his father's enemies got too close. Always with the same excuse. For your protection. What he learned was simpler. Love stays when it wants you and sends you away when you become inconvenient. Sophia listens, then takes his hands. She tells him Laya is not him, and they are not his father. If a separate school is wrong, they will find another answer together. But his wound does not get to make the decision alone. Dante lowers his head until their foreheads touch. For the first time, he says he does not know what the right thing is. 3 days later, Marco comes to them with the face of a man carrying bad news he wishes were false. He asks for Dante, Sophia, and Laya in one room. No secrets, he says. Not anymore. Sophia's stomach tightens. She calls Dante, and while they wait, she sits beside Laya instead of sending her away. If danger is shaping her daughter's life, Laya deserves the truth in words she can survive. Dante arrives fast, already angry, but the threat does not come with gunfire. It comes with Marco locking the door, setting a folder on the table, and saying someone has been feeding information from inside the house. Marco lays out printed bank statements, surveillance stills, phone logs, and a transfer of $50,000 from an account tied to Sophia. Laya looks at her mother, confused and scared. Sophia's first instinct is panic. Her second is rage. She reaches for the statements and checks the dates. One transfer happened while she was in Dr. Reeves's office. Another while she was in the kitchen with Antonio and 3 staff members at present. Her account number is real, but the signature is wrong. This is copied from Travis' loan paperwork, she says. Dante's eyes snap to hers. Sophia pushes the page toward him. He had my documents before I ever came here. Marco admits the transfers could be staged, but the surveillance photos are harder to explain. Ordinary moments have been turned into weapons. Laya laughing at a cafe, Sophia walking in the garden, a school pickup, Dante standing too close beside her in the library. Someone knew their routines and chose exactly which images would wound the most. Then Marco shows phone calls tied to Sophia's name and enemy numbers. Sophia asks to see the raw logs, not the summary. Marco hesitates. Dante tells him to hand them over. Sophia scans the times, then points to 3 calls placed during kitchen shifts when her phone was locked upstairs. Whoever framed her had access to her room. The room goes quiet. Dante's mask is cold, but Sophia can see the fear beneath it. The trap was not only meant to accuse her, it was meant to make Dante doubt her in front of Laya. Sophia turns to her daughter and says clearly, I did not do this. Laya nods through tears. Dante crosses the room and stands beside Sophia, not in front of her. It matters. He tells Marco to treat her as the first victim of the frame, not the suspect. Marco looks unconvinced, but he obeys. Sophia takes a notebook from the shelf and starts writing a timeline. If someone used her life as evidence, she will use her life to tear the lie apart. Then Sophia's phone buzzes. Unknown number. Dante reaches for it, but Sophia pulls it back and puts it on speaker herself. A distorted voice explains that the money was nothing, just a cheap way to expose Dante's soft point. The real pleasure is watching him wonder whether the woman he loves betrayed him. Sophia's fingers tighten around the phone. The caller wants her frightened and grateful for rescue. Instead, she asks one question: why use Travis' paperwork? The line goes still for half a breath. Dante notices. Marco notices. The caller laughs, but the pause is enough. Sophia writes Travis in capital letters at the top of the page. Marco brings worse news within the hour. Their security network has been exposed for 6 months. Cameras, guard routes, employee files, household schedules. Someone has been watching them from inside the walls. Only 3 people had clearance wide enough to open those archives: Marco, Dante, Antonio. Sophia thinks of Antonio teaching Laia to fold dough, of the way he saved extra pastries for her study nights, and feels sick. Dante refuses to believe it, but refusal is not proof. Suspicion spreads through the room like smoke. Sophia closes her notebook. "When we test access, not loyalty," she says. Find who used the clearance, when, and from which terminal. They find Antonio in the kitchen, humming over a pot of sauce as if the house has not just turned against itself. When Dante asks about the archives, the old man's face goes blank with shock. Marco lays out the digital trail. Antonio's login, repeated access, classified files opened after midnight. Antonio insists he only uses his computer for orders and recipes. Sophia watches his hands. They are trembling, not hiding. Asks if anyone else knows his password. Antonio looks embarrassed before he looks afraid. He admits he wrote it down and kept it in an unlocked desk drawer, because he never imagined anyone in this house would use him that way. Thea asks when he last noticed anything strange. Antonio wipes his hands on his apron, thinking hard. 2 months earlier, he found his office drawer slightly open. Another night, his computer was warm, even though he remembered shutting it down. He had blamed old age, distraction, too many orders. Marco's mouth tightens. Dante looks ready to tear the kitchen apart. Sophia asks for footage from those dates. Marco says there may be too much to search quickly. Thea answers, then search the kitchen corridor first. Whoever used his password had to pass a camera. It is a simple thought, but no one else had slowed down enough to have it. A young guard brings the tablet 20 minutes later. The footage is grainy, time-stamped 2:47 in the morning. A figure slips into Antonio's office and turns on his computer. Marco zooms in. At first, it is only a shoulder, a hand, a familiar apron. Then the face turns toward the camera, and Sophia feels the floor drop. Elise. Quiet Elise, the housekeeper in her mid-40s, the woman who had worked beside Sophia for years, who knew which tea Leia liked, which stairs they used, and which room Sophia avoided. The harmless questions come back one by one, no longer harmless at all. The name Elise changes the whole house. Dante moves fast, barking orders, sending guards to her room, her apartment, her relatives. Every address in her employee file. Elise is gone. Her room is empty. Her uniforms folded too neatly, her apartment stripped clean. She has a 12-hour head start. Then Marco's people uncover the real name buried under forged records: Elise Castellano. Sophia sits down hard. Enemy was not outside the gates, watching from a distance. She had been folding towels, serving coffee, learning their habits and smiling, while she built a map of every weak place in the family. For 3 years. Elise lived under Dante's roof and studied them. Dante's fury is immediate, but Sophia sees the wound beneath it. He did not just miss a spy. He let one close to Laia. Before anyone can speak, the office phone rings. Dante answers and puts it on speaker. The distorted voice is amused, almost lazy. It says Elise gave them the house. Travis gave them Sophia. And Castellano's death gave them a reason to come. Sophia listens past the distortion. There is a rhythm beneath it. A familiar cruelty in the pauses. Her stomach turns before the voice clears. Travis Kane laughs through the speaker. Sophia's hands go cold. He mocks the papers Dante forced him to sign and says Seattle was useful after all. Humiliation taught him patience. Debt taught him where to find angry men. Elise gave him the house, the cameras, the schedules. He says he watched Sophia playing family with a killer and Laia calling another man safe. Then his voice softens into the old wounded tone Sophia once believed. "You know I never stopped loving you." He says, "I only wanted you to admit you needed me." Sophia steps closer to the phone. "You lost us," she says. "You did that." Not Dante. When the call ends, Dante orders a full lockdown. Iron shutters crash over the windows, sealing out the daylight. Guards shout across radios. Engines roar outside. The mansion turns into an armored vault, and Sophia feels how quickly shelter can become a cage. Does not freeze this time. Grabs Laia's emergency bag, checks the documents, and pushes the burner phone into her own pocket. Dante tells her to go to the panic room. Sophia asks where he will be. He does not answer. That is answer enough. Steps in front of him before he can leave. No dying for us without asking us first, she says. Laya's terror breaks through the room. Dante kneels in front of her and explains the panic room in careful, simple words. It will be loud. It may be dark. Antonio will stay with her. Sophia will come as soon as she can. Leia clutches Sophia's hand and begs not to be separated. Sophia wants to promise they will not be. Instead, she kneels too and tells her daughter the truth. I need you safe so I can think. Laya's lip trembles, but she nods. That small act of courage nearly destroys Sophia. When Antonio leads Laya away, Sophia watches every step until the steel door closes around the only person she cannot lose. The moment Laya is gone, Sophia turns on Dante. Travis is alive, armed with their routines, and using everything they failed to finish. Dante tries to tell her to breathe. She cuts him off. Breathing will not solve this. She wants every exit, every breach point, and every weapon in the house explained now. Dante stares at her, then calls Marco and orders a full defensive map sent to the study screens. Sophia's hands shake, but she follows the lines, the camera feeds, the guard positions. She is done being moved through disasters blind. If Travis is coming for her family, she will at least know from which door. Then the power dies. The mansion drops into darkness before emergency lights flood the halls in a red glow. Guard shouts over the radio. Southgate is breached. Another voice cuts off mid-sentence. They are already inside. Dante pulls Sophia away from the screens, just as gunfire cracks somewhere below. Hall that once held quiet portraits and polished floors now looks like the inside of a wound. Dante gives orders while moving, but Sophia sees the fear in his eyes. Not for himself. Panic room. For Laya. For the future they were foolish enough to name before it existed. Gunfire erupts near the west corridor. Dante pushes Sophia into his study and locks the door. Then he takes a pistol from the desk and puts it into her hands. The weight shocks her. She wants to drop it. He wraps her fingers around the grip and shows her once. Safety, aim, trigger, no long speech, no romance, just survival. You know how to stand when you re-terrified. He says, you've done it for years. Outside, an explosion rattles the windows. Dante grabs a rifle. Sophia catches his sleeve. Do not go alone. He says he has to. She says, then come back with enough of yourself left to live. More promise than comfort. And Dante is gone, and Sophia is alone with a gun, a desk full of papers, and the sound of the house being torn open. The phone rings. She almost lets it go. Then she answers, because fear has ruled enough of her life. Travis's voice slides through the receiver, soft now, almost tender. He says Dante stole his family. Sophia laughs once, sharp and humorless, surprising them both. You never had a family, she says. You had people you could scare. Travis sighs like a disappointed husband. Still twisting things, Soph. You always did that when someone loved you too much. Travis tells her he is coming to take her and Laya home. Sophia says there is no home with him in it. Changes tone instantly, lowering his voice into the fake remorse she knows too well. Says he was sick, broke, desperate. Says Dante filled her head with lies because powerful men enjoy broken women. Then he aims for the wound he knows best. Dante is a monster, he says. When the danger passes, he will own her in a prettier cage. Sophia looks at the documents she saved, the timeline she wrote, the gun in her hand. Maybe Dante is still learning, she says. You only learned better ways to hurt us. The door bursts open before Travis can answer. Marco stumbles in, bleeding hard from his side and shoulder. The estate is no longer holding. Dante went toward the main lobby to draw Travis away from the panic room. Sophia understands the pattern at once. Dante still thinks the final debt is his alone to pay. Marco tries to drag her toward a service passage. Sophia stops long enough to grab the defensive map from the screen and mark the panic room route on a torn page. She dies. Someone needs to know where Laya is. Marco swears at her to move. Then armed men crash into the study. The room explodes into noise. Marco fires from behind a chair, dropping one attacker, then another. Wood splinters. Books burst from shelves. Glass rains across the floor. A bullet rips through Marco's shoulder and spins him down. Thea sees the third man raise his gun toward him. There is no time to think about morality. No time to become the kind of woman who hesitates and dies politely. She lifts the pistol and pulls the trigger. Sound punches through her body. Gunman drops. Thea stares at him, shaking so hard the weapon almost falls from her hand. Marco's groan drags her back into the living world. Marco's blood is everywhere, hot against Sophia's hands as she hauls him up. Asks if he can walk. Says no, then forces himself upright anyway. An explosion shakes the foundation. Floor bucks beneath them, and alarms begin screaming through the walls. Fire has started somewhere below. Smoke rolls under the door. Thea coughs, grabs Marco's belt with one hand and keeps the gun in the other. They stagger into the hallway, trying to reach the panic room. but both ends are blocked by movement and muzzle. Marco looks at the service corridor, then at Sophia. She already knows what he is about to do. Marco shoves her behind a marble column and presses his spare magazine into her hand. "Run when I fire," he says. Sophia starts to refuse. He cuts her off for the girl. Then he steps into the hallway and shoots with his good arm. The corridor erupts. Sophia runs. Every instinct screams at her to look back, but she does not. At the panic room door, she punches the code wrong once, twice, then forces her hand steady. The lock opens. Inside, Laia and Antonio are huddled together, faces white with terror. Sophia throws herself in, and the steel door seals behind her. Antonio asks where Marco is. Sophia cannot make herself say the answer. The monitors show the estate burning in red and gray. Sophia wipes smoke from her eyes and searches the feeds. They are the main lobby. Dante stands on the marble floor, bleeding but up. Across from him is Travis, scarred, lean, and smiling as if the whole world has finally bent toward his. Dante is unarmed. Travis holds a gun low at his. Leia steps toward the screen, but Sophia pulls her back against her chest. On the silent feed, Travis points toward the camera and mouths Laia's name. Dante's face changes. Not rage this time. Pain. Sophia knows Travis has found the words. Then Dante moves. Travis fires, the bullet grazing Dante's side, but Dante keeps coming. They crash onto the marble hard enough that Laia cries out. Sophia covers her daughter's eyes with one hand and keeps watching with the other. Dante smashes Travis' wrist against the floor until the gun skitters away. Travis pulls a knife from his boot. The blade flashes, then opens a deep line across Dante's chest. Sophia makes a sound she does not recognize. Travis drives the knife toward Dante's throat. Dante catches his wrist. For several terrible seconds, neither man moves. When Dante twists and Travis' wrist breaks, the knife falls. Dante grabs it and drives it into Travis' chest. Once, twice, a third time. Travis collapses, his body finally still. Sophia does not feel triumph, only a brutal, stunned relief. Dante turns toward the security camera, blood running down his shirt, and mouths 3 words, "I love you." Before Sophia can answer a screen, a massive explosion tears through the feed. Everything goes black. She screams and slams her fists against the panic room door. Antonio grabs her from behind. The timer will not release for 30 minutes. The room designed to save them has become a box that keeps her away from the man dying outside. 27 minutes pass like punishment. Smoke seeps through the vents. The radio gives only static. Leia clings to Sophia's waist, shaking without sound now, which is worse than crying. Antonio whispers prayers in Italian and checks the emergency seal again and again. Sophia's fists are bruised from hitting the steel door. She stops only when Laia touches her bleeding knuckles. Then Sophia forces herself to kneel, look her daughter in the eye, and speak calmly. Dante promised he would try to come back. They will be ready when the door opens. The timer counts down in red numbers, indifferent to prayer, fear, or love. When the lock releases, Sophia pulls the door open and black smoke crashes over them. Heat rolls down the corridor, driving them to their hands and knees. Antonio leads one arm around Laia. Sophia follows with the gun, coughing so hard her ribs scream. Stairs collapse in a burst of sparks before they reach them, forcing them toward the servants' stairwell. Downstairs, the house is almost unrecognizable. Bodies lie in smoke. Broken glass cuts under their shoes. Sophia tries to shield Laia's view, but the firelight shows too much. Then she sees Dante in the kitchen, slumped against a counter, one hand pressed weakly to his chest. Dante looks nothing like the untouchable man who once ruled the house. He is pale, soaked in blood, and struggling for each breath. Sophia drops beside him and presses both hands to the wound. "Stay with me," she says, again and again, as if repetition can hold his body together. Antonio tears towels from a drawer and helps apply pressure. Even half-conscious, Dante asks about Marco. Sophia's face gives the answer before she can speak. Dante closes his eyes, and for one awful second she thinks he is gone. Then he opens them again and whispers Laia's name. Sophia leans close. "She is alive. We all here. Now fight." A soft click comes from the smoke. Elise steps into view wearing the same housekeeper's apron, now streaked with ash. She holds a gun pointed at Dante. Her face is twisted with grief and hatred. She says Castellano was family. Sophia does not think. She moves between the gun and Dante before fear has time to bargain. "So is he," she says. Elise's finger tightens. A wounded guard fires from the floor behind her. Elise drops, and the gun skids away. Sophia does not look at her again. She and Antonio drag Dante toward the cold night air while Leia sobs behind them. Outside, Sophia collapses beside him on the grass and keeps pressure on the wound until paramedics tear the towels away. Dante manages a faint smile as the paramedics surround him with oxygen, needles, and shouted orders. They try to push Sophia back, but he catches her hand with what little strength he has left. Antonio keeps Laya close and nods for Sophia to get into the ambulance. The ride is a blur of sirens and red light. Medical words pass over Sophia's head, but she understands the blood, the pressure, the urgency in their faces. When Dante starts slipping, she bends close and says he still has to marry her, so he does not get to die now. His mouth twitches, almost a smile. Then the hospital doors swallow him. Sophia is left in a waiting room that smells of disinfectant and burnt clothing. Soot covers her arms. Blood has dried under her nails. For 6 hours, she sits under fluorescent lights and watches the sky turn pale through the windows. Around 7, Antonio arrives with Laya in borrowed clothes too big for her. Laya does not speak. She climbs into Sophia's lap, though she is almost too old for it, and Sophia holds her tight enough to feel every tremor. Antonio asks if there is news. Sophia shakes her head. Then she takes out her notebook and writes down the names of the dead while she still remembers them. 8:43. The surgeon appears with his mask hanging loose and exhaustion carved into his face. Sophia stands so quickly the room tilts. Surgeon tells her Dante is stable. They repaired the lung, stopped the bleeding, and expect him to recover if the next 72 hours go well. Relief hits Sophia so hard Antonio has to catch her. Laya begins crying at last, loud and helpless, and Sophia pulls her close. Stable is not safe. Covering is not whole. But after a night spent imagining a body under a sheet, those words feel like a door opening just wide enough to let air in. 2 hours later, Sophia is allowed into intensive care. The room is cold, filled with machines that hum and beep around Dante's still body. Tubes run from him. Bandages cover his chest. The man who once made armed men lower their eyes now lies helpless under white sheets. Sophia pulls a chair close and takes his hand. His knuckles are scarred, his palm rough, his fingers cold. She does not romanticize the damage anymore. Those hands have hurt people. Those hands have also held Laya like she was precious. Sophia sits with both truths and refuses to turn either one into a lie. Laya stops at the doorway, frightened by the tubes and the strange rhythm of the machines. Sophia waves her closer. "That's resting," she says. "His body is working hard." Laya approaches slowly and touches Dante's hand with one finger before pulling back. Antonio brings sandwiches wrapped in paper and coffee that has already gone lukewarm. Sophia eats because she cannot collapse now. When detectives arrive, she steps into the hallway and gives them careful facts: the breach, the fire, Travis's attack, Elise's betrayal. She leaves out what would only feed more blood. She gives enough to make sure Travis is not remembered as a victim. The detectives want names, motives, and clean lines through a night that had none. Sophia answers what she can. She does not protect Travis. She does not exaggerate Dante into innocence. She says the truth in pieces sharp enough to matter and dull enough to survive. They warn her Dante will have to talk eventually. Sophia nods without looking away from the ICU doors. That night, she sleeps in a chair for 20 minutes and dreams of smoke filling the panic room. She wakes with her hand around an invisible gun. For a moment, she does not know where she is. The monitor beeps behind the glass, and she remembers he is still alive. At 3 in the morning, Dante's fingers twitch. The monitor speeds up, and a nurse rushes in, telling Sophia to step back. Sophia moves only far enough to let her work. The nurse says to talk to him if she insists on staying. Sophia leans close. She tells Dante the fire is out. Travis is gone. Laya is safe. And he is in a hospital, not a battlefield. Slowly, his eyes open. At first, they search the room for danger. Then, they find Sophia. The panic drains from his face inch by inch. When the nurse removes the oxygen mask, his first question is Laya. Sophia tells him she is asleep with Antonio. His hand relaxes in hers. Sophia tells him Travis is dead. The words leave a hollow space behind them, but no regret. Dante closes his eyes. Then he asks about Marco, and Sophia's silence does the damage. The estate is ash. Marco is gone. Elise is dead. The empire has cracked open and burned from the inside. Dante stares at the ceiling and asks if they won. Sophia almost says yes. Instead, she says we lived. Dante turns his head toward her. A weak, broken smile touches his mouth. That sounds more honest. Sophia squeezes his hand. They are not victorious. Not yet, but they are still in the room. In the quiet of recovery, the chaos begins to feel unreal. As if another family burned in another house. Dante drifts in and out of morphine dreams. Once, he wakes and mutters that he still owes Sophia a wedding. Tells him to shut up and heal before proposing like a wounded idiot. His lips twitch before sleep pulls him under again. Recovery is ugly, fever pain, infection scares, and bandages changed while he grips the bed rail until his knuckles whiten. Sophia stays, studies in the chair, signs school forms for Laya, and reminds Dante each time he wakes that no one needs him to be invincible anymore. By day 5, Dante is arguing with doctors. By day 7, he is walking the hall with Sophia, supporting half his weight and refusing to admit he needs her arm. When the police come, he gives them a clean version of a dirty story. A home invasion, self-defense, dead attackers, no surviving underworld chain worth chasing. Lawyers handle the rest. By day 12, Sophia finds him by the window, hospital gown loose on his frame, bandages thick under the fabric. He looks smaller without the mansion around him. Not weaker, exactly, more human. He tells her the estate is gone, most assets frozen or exposed, and rivals have already taken what remains of his old territory. Sophia waits for rage. It does not come. Dante only looks out at the skyline and says, "Then I'm out." The simplicity of it frightens him. She can hear it. A man who spent his life holding power has lost the prison and the throne in the same fire. He turns from the window and admits he does not know who he is, without men waiting for orders. Sophia walks to him slowly. "Good," she says. "Then you get to find out before Laia starts copying the old version." Dante flinches, but he does not look away. That is how she knows the new life may have a chance. Later, he tells her he is nearly broke in every way that used to matter. The dirty money is gone, frozen seas stolen, or too dangerous to touch. A few legal companies remain, but nothing like the life he promised. He looks ashamed when he says he cannot give her marble floors, drivers, or a house behind gates. Sophia almost laughs, then sees he means it. She sits beside him and tells him what she wants instead. A door Laia can open without asking a guard. A kitchen where no one hides guns. Bills paid with money that does not smell like fear. Dante listens as if she is describing a country he has never visited. Sophia tells him she never wanted a king. Kings scare children and make women lower their voices. She wants a partner who can apologize without turning it into punishment, who can be afraid without reaching for control, can build something slow and honest even when no one applauds. Dante calls himself a monster who burned his own world down. Sophia corrects him. A monster would have dragged everyone back into the flames to keep the throne. He let it burn and carried them out. That does not make him innocent. It makes him responsible for what he chooses next. Dante looks at her for a long time, and the old arrogance is nowhere in his face. No music, no perfect speech. Just a hospital room. A weak afternoon light. And a man held together by stitches, asking a woman if she will marry him, when he has almost nothing left to offer but the truth. Dante admits she pulled him toward a life he did not believe he deserved. Sophia tells him yes. But she makes one thing clear. Marriage is not forgiveness for everything. And love is not permission to stop changing. Dante nods. He says he knows. She believes him because he sounds afraid. Not certain. They kiss carefully around tubes and bandages. And for once, the future does not feel like a threat. When Dante leaves the hospital on the 14th day, there is no convoy waiting. No black luxury cars. No men lowering their eyes. Antonio pulls up in a plain sedan with a dented bumper and a heater that complains loudly. Laia climbs in first and claims the back seat as if it is a throne. Sophia helps Dante into the passenger seat, and he does not need help. He jokes that he will probably be a terrible husband. Sophia tells him she will be a difficult wife. It is the first laugh that does not hurt. Behind them, the city keeps moving, unaware that an empire has ended quietly in a hospital parking lot. They drive north to a modest rental house in upstate New York. 3 bedrooms. A small backyard. Thin curtains. Neighbors who wave without knowing what a gift it is to be ordinary. The house creaks at night. And at first every sound wakes them. Dante checks locks too often. Sophia checks Laia's breathing. Laia sleeps with a lamp on and the door open. Normal life is not peaceful right away. It is too quiet, too exposed, too unfamiliar. Some nights, Sophia finds Dante at the kitchen window at 2 a.m, touching the scar across his chest. She makes tea, sits beside him, and waits until he starts talking. Slowly, the house begins to belong to them. Dante sleeps through one night, then 2. Laia joins a local school and complains about homework like any other kid. Thea returns to her certification classes and studies at the dining table while Laia works through math beside her. Dante runs the legal businesses from a battered laptop, learning that honest emails can be more exhausting than threats. Antonio visits every week with groceries, gossip, and loud opinions about their terrible knives. Dante teaches Laya chess, and when he loses on purpose, she catches him and makes him play properly. Old habits do not vanish, but new ones start taking root. 6 months after the fire, Dante and Sofia marry under a golden oak tree in the backyard. There is no cathedral, no designer gown, no crowd full of people pretending to love them. Sofia wears a simple sundress. Dante stands in plain slacks, still a little stiff when he moves. Antonio cries openly and denies it when Laya points it out. Dante's vows are not polished. He says he spent most of his life mistaking fear for respect and control for safety. He believed he was too damaged to become anything else. Then Sofia and Laya walked into his life and made that excuse impossible to keep. Dante promises not to be perfect, because perfect would be another lie. He promises to tell the truth, to choose them over power, and to let Sofia call him out when the old instincts return. When Sofia speaks, her voice shakes only once. She says she spent years making herself small to survive and mistaking crumbs of tenderness for love. Dante did not save her by owning her. He gave her room to stand, and then she chose to stay. When they are pronounced husband and wife, Laya throws her arms around them both. Later, when she asks to take the Bellucci name, Dante has to turn away for a moment before he can answer. After the last guests leave, Sofia finds Dante on the porch steps with his tie loose and his shoes off. He is looking at the little house as if he still expects it to vanish. She asks if he regrets leaving the empire behind. He says no too fast, then corrects himself. Some days. He misses being feared because fear is simple. People obey. Problems move. Doors open. Then he looks through the window at Laya asleep on the couch, with frosting on her sleeve, and says, "Fear never gave him that." Sofia sits beside him. She prefers the honest answer. A year later, Sofia graduates and begins teaching 4th grade at the local school. The pay is modest, the classroom loud, and some days she comes home exhausted in a way that feels clean. Dante runs construction and logistics contracts from their dining room, building slowly, legally, and with more paperwork than he ever thought possible. Their house is small, but every bill is paid with clean money. Laya is 13 now, taller, sharper, and less afraid of sudden noises. She still has nightmares sometimes. So does Sofia. So does Dante. In this house, no one has to pretend they are fine before breakfast. 2 years after the fire, their backyard is full of ordinary noise. Laya argues about soccer practice. Antonio complains that Dante has ruined the grill. Thea brings out plates while laughing at both of them. Nothing about the scene looks dramatic, which is exactly why it matters. There are no armed guards at the fence, no coded calls, no men waiting for orders. Family dinner and a dog from next door begging for scraps. Sofia watches Dante listen to Laya's school story with complete attention. Once, she would never have believed a man like him could sit so gently in peace. Later that night, Sofia finds Dante in his small office, smiling over construction contracts. No blackmail, no threats, 200 honest jobs tied to a downtown project. He admits it still surprises him that people can make money without terrifying anyone. Thea tells him she is proud of him. He jokes that this is the minimum requirement for being a normal adult, but his eyes soften. He knows the climb was not small. When he pulls her close, his hands are careful out of habit now, not fear. Those same hands once held guns, signed threats, and built walls. Now they hold her like tenderness is a skill he practices every day. When Sofia thinks back to the woman who walked out of the hospital in the rain, she does not pity her. She honors her. That woman was terrified, bruised, and nearly out of strength. But she still went looking for her child. She still climbed the stairs. She still walked into a Mafia house, because love was stronger than shame. Now Sofia has keys to her own classroom, bills with her own name on them, and a daughter who no longer lowers her voice when a man enters the room. The past is still there, but it no longer sits at the head of the table. They are not heroes in the clean storybook sense. They have done things they cannot undo, and lost people they cannot replace. Marco's name is still spoken at their table. The estate still exists only in photographs and memory. Dante still wakes some nights with his hand, reaching for a weapon that is no longer there. Sofia still locks the bathroom door too carefully. Healing has made them honest. When fear comes, they name it. When anger rises, they stop before it becomes command. Day by day, they choose a life that does not require anyone to bleed for it. What happens after the gunfire stops is rarely simple. Dante still has to choose patience when control would be easier. Sophia still has to choose trust when suspicion feels safer. Laya still has to learn that love can stay without turning dangerous. None of them fixed the others overnight. They stayed for the difficult. Ordinary work. Apologies. Therapy, school forms. Honest money. Quiet mornings. And the courage to say, when something hurts before it becomes another wound. Some victories look like explosions. Theirs looks like Laya laughing in the kitchen, while Dante burns pancakes, and Sophia opens the windows to let the smoke out. The heart of their story is not blood revenge, or a powerful man saving a broken woman. It is a family refusing to let violence decide who they become. Dante did not erase his past. Sophia did not forget hers. Laya did not heal in one perfect moment. They simply chose, again and again, not to hand their future over to the people who tried to destroy them. In the end, their greatest victory is not that their enemies fell. It is that they learned how to live without becoming them.